today about this home inspection industry and about what we can do as far as inspector flow in order to assist you on that journey. So I just got a brief little roadmap, a couple of things that I want to talk about. Again, whether or not you choose to join inspector flow or not, I want to make sure that you know you have the information so that you can take advantage of this opportunity. That's one of the problems, is that it's hard to figure out what you need to do. So I'm going to try to clear that up for tonight. If you're tuning in, let me know in the comments what state you're tuning in from. As you can see, we're going to do a case study and talk a little bit about how to become a home inspector in Maryland, but it's different in each state. So let me know in the chat where you are tuning in from. So how do I get started? In order to become a home inspector, like I said, each state has different requirements. There are some what we call regulated states who they have certain requirements for licensure, and then there are non-regulated states where they don't have any specific requirements. So the first thing that you got to do is to determine which state which requirements your state has, right? So here's a list right here of the non-regulated states. Let me know in the chat if you see your state if you see your state in here. So Anthony Taylor from DC, okay? Anthony, you non-regulated out in Chocolate City. Seltzer, GA, looking forward to flowing with you. You know, you're non-regulated in GA as well. Shadow, the Great, Ohio. We just became a regulated state in July of 2021. Chris, peace to you. Florida, you guys are also regulated. So number one thing you got to do is find out again if your state is regulated or non-regulated. Typically, if you are in a regulated state, you're going to have some sort of requirement for your educational hours. They're going to say you've got to do, for example, 72 is the requirement in Maryland, 72 hours of education, right? Then in most regulated states, you're going to have to pass the NHIE, or the National Home Inspector exam. Most regulated states require you to pass this test. Okay, there are a couple exceptions, but most regulated states require you to pass this test. It is a difficult test. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Also, professional requirements like insurance is the main one. You have to have, in states that are regulated, they typically have insurance requirements. And even if you are not regulated, you still want to make sure that you have your insurance. So again, take a screenshot of this so that you can see what if your state is not on here, then you're a regulated state. So go ahead and take a quick screenshot of that. This NHIE, okay, the NHIE. It's a, like I said, it's a difficult test. There are 200 multiple choice questions. There are 4 options. So when you say multiple choice, there are 4 different options. The test, you get 4 hours to complete the test. It is $225 to take the test each time. If you do not pass the test, which 55% of the people fail the test the first time, if you don't pass the first time, you have to wait 30 days, and then you can pay your $225 again, and you can take it again. I'm telling you right now, it's a very difficult test, and it doesn't matter if you don't pass on the first time, second time, third time. We have students who are still trying to pass that test. It's just a very, don't get me off on a tangent of the test, but it is a more difficult test, especially if you are, again, new to the industry. One of the major things, though, the tips, if I could leave you with anything for this NHIE, is do not discount or don't forget about the psychological part of taking this test. That's one thing. When I went to go take the test, I don't know if you're anything like me, but it was hard as heck for me to pay attention. Roundabout question 80, my mind started wandering. You know, there were people tapping with a pen. You know, it was hard for me to focus for that long. The questions, they're trying to trick you, and it's just a lot going on. And I had not accounted for that, the psychological preparation that I needed to have been doing. So one thing that we're really big on in Inspector Flow is simulating that testing environment. So I give a lot of exams. They're all timed. They're typically all multiple choice. because I'm trying to simulate that testing environment to get our students ready for what it's like to have to sit still, stare at a computer, and answer 200 questions. So if you're getting ready to prepare for the NHIE, don't forget that you need to try to simulate that experience so that you can actually be prepared to take that test. Okay. So that's the NHIE, or the National Home Inspector Exam. So let's talk about Maryland real quick. Again, if you have questions as you drop in, go ahead and drop them in the chat, and I'll answer them when I get to a break. So Maryland is a regulated state. It's kind of funny because Maryland is regulated, DC is non-regulated, and Virginia is regulated, right? So you don't need a license technically to inspect in DC, but you do need one to inspect in Maryland and also Virginia. So the requirement in Maryland is 72 hours. 72 hours of education. If you just literally Google Maryland and home inspector, I believe the second site will be their actual state site for the official body within their state government that regulates the home inspection people, or whatever the case may be. And you can look there and they will give you a list of the state required or state mandated education. So basically you pick one of those places on there, you go to them, you pay them, and you have to do 72 hours of education. Now, depending upon where you go, I have some students who finished theirs in a week. I have some students who they went longer. So it just depends on where you go. They have different, lengths of programs. Once you complete your 72 hours, you have to take and pass the NHIE. You submit your application with the $50 fee, and then once you get approved, before they will issue your license, you have to show proof that you carry 150,000 in general liability insurance. So that is the process to get your license if you are in Maryland. This is typically basically the same process everywhere in every state. The thing that's going to vary is usually the amount of hours required. And then there are some states that actually require mock inspection hours, where you have to either do a certain amount of inspections in the field, or you have to have a certain amount of inspections up under a licensed inspector. I'll tell you straight off, Texas, New York, and North Carolina are pains in the what in the way of getting your license. Their requirements are crazy, out of this world. So if you live in those states, definitely doable, but just know it will take you probably at least a solid year just to fulfill their state mandated requirements. One thing that I do want to point out to you about the state mandated requirements in this whole process is there are a couple of things that you got to look out for in terms of barriers or problems that I already know you're going to run into, because I ran into them and all of my students, ran into them as well. Number one, education. You heard me talk about the amount of hours, right? The problem is that uh, on a lot of the state mandated educational institutions are not their curriculum is not set up for people who don't come from a background in the trades, right? So one thing that I pride myself on for Inspector Flow is that we have people from all different backgrounds. The accountants, we got Dre's, an ex-football player, we got all different, waiters, servers, all different types of things. And through a lot of hard work and dedication, they were able to learn this, even though they didn't come from a background in the trades. A lot of times when you go through these different educational places and certification places, you go through it and you complete it, and you may have a certificate that says that you've completed the 72 hours that you need for Maryland, but do you actually know how to inspect? Can you actually write a report? Are you actually prepared to take and pass the exam? There are some states where you can go to a state, you can look at the state mandated places, and you can pick a place and they won't even give you the textbooks for the NHIE textbooks. There are two textbooks. That's the only thing that you have to prepare for the exam. Well, you could be going to 6 weeks of school in Texas, and never once have talked about or really received the textbooks for the NHIE. And I'm telling you, it's hard to pass that test without, it's hard to pass the test with the textbooks, more or less without them. Or, trying to go through international, all of these places I've gone through, I paid for all of them. Internashi, AHIT, ICA, like all of these different places. That's one of the things that I'm telling you right now, you will run into. It's one of the reasons why I started Inspector Flow, because it's like anybody who's willing to commit the time and the money to learning this, it's a trade, to learning this real estate trade, there should be education that can take them from point A to point Z. I shouldn't have to have a background in the trades in order to do this. If I do have one, then cool. That's cool beans for me. It's easier. But there are people coming out of high school, our young people, if they commit to 20 weeks, they should be able to learn how to do this. People who are working in industries that were impacted by COVID, if they're looking to transition and pivot into a more stable actual, again, career and trade, they should be able to do it. Like, it shouldn't just be for people who come from a background in the trades. And so that is one of the things that I know you'll run into, and that's one of the problems that we try to solve at Inspector Flow. The second thing is actual in-field hands-on training. And also with this, I mean live instruction and live virtual instruction, right? Like right now, I could pull up my curriculum and my PowerPoint for the electrical section, and we could go straight into class right now. This is live. I'm literally sitting here. We are live. This is not a video that I recorded. You can ask me questions if something is not clear. I have presentations. A lot of these places where you go, you're not getting live instruction. And again, if you don't come from a background in this, you need to be able to ask questions and to get things really taught to you and not have to kind of click through and teach yourself. And then you also need to be able to get that hands-on, actually, what does this look like in the field, right? The third thing is the business setup part. Like we talked about earlier, you could decide that you want to have your own home inspection company. But you like running a business doesn't typically come with a manual. You know what I mean? It's like, how do you know how to set up and run your new home inspection company? How do you know how to, marketing and bookkeeping and all of these different things, setting up an entity properly, and all of these different things that comes with running, a business and being legally compliant. How do you learn these things? A lot of these places, again, they're not able, or I guess they're not able, or they don't want to, or whatever, to get into the actual setup and maintenance of a new home inspection company. So I just want to put you on notice, again, whether or not you flowing with us or not, these are some things that you're going to have to work through in order to be a home inspector in whatever state that you're in. However, once you pass, right? Once you pass, the opportunities are endless. Okay, the opportunities are totally endless for you in terms of, again, flexibility, earning potential, and the whole nine. So what we this is the point. This is where we're working as an Inspector Flow group. This is where we're working to get you to. We want to help you to pass, and once you pass, we want you to have the knowledge. We have a saying where we say competency leads to confidence. We focus on three main things in Inspector Flow: the 10 main systems of the house and report writing. So knowing those systems and all of the components that go with it, and how to write a good solid home inspection report. Number two, that NHIE test prep piece. Again, simulating that testing environment to prepare you, to help you to be able to pass the test. And then three, home inspector business mastery. I want you to actually know how to set up your legally compliant business, marketing strategies, different things that you can do to keep yourself afloat as a new home inspection company, so that, what they say, the statistics are that most businesses end in the first couple of years. And so those are the three main things that we focus on in Inspector Flow. Another thing that I'm super proud of is that everything that you need comes with Inspector Flow. Your tuition includes 20 weeks of, again, live virtual training. I teach every class Sunday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, mandatory classes. You have to be in class, available by camera and mic for 20 weeks. We have study sessions on Friday. There's homework every week. There's exams. We have a Facebook group. Your textbooks are included, the toolkits are included. All you got to do is give me 20 weeks of your time, and in 20 weeks you'll know a house inside out, up, down, front, back. You'll be ready to take that test, and you'll know you'll already have your all of our students graduate with their companies already established. Okay, so that's where inspector flow fits in to this whole scheme of helping you to actually pass and become a home inspector. I want to give you just a little look at the earning potential, right? Because that's, we all got families, it's about the squalor or what have you. So the national average cost for a home inspection is $450. That's nationally, maybe a little bit more in your area, maybe a little bit less. But it is not uncommon to do 10 inspections in your first month. We have several students who definitely did 10 inspections plus in their first month as a home inspector. So 10 inspections time $450 means that your first month as an inspector, you could be looking at a $4,500 month. We have students who, they weren't making that in 2 months on their job, and that may be your story as well. Or let's say you don't hit 10, let's say you hit five, you know what I mean? Five, that's still over 2 grand. And it would have been on your own time. You would have been doing something that you enjoy. You would no bosses, nobody, you know what I mean? So and let's just say again, in your 6 month, by your 6 month, we're in a slow season right now. I won't lie to you. This is slow season, but right around this is the perfect time to go to school for this and learn so that you'll be ready for the summertime. Within, we got some students who did it a little bit quicker, but definitely within 6 months, you should be averaging about 20 inspections a month. It's not hard to do at all. We teach our students basically how to average one inspection a day. If you average one, you don't have to work every day. If you average one a day, you have completed about 300 inspections at $450. That's over grossing over 100 grand. So you see the earning potential as a home inspector. As I said, now we are definitely in a slow season, so there's no cap. I'm not trying to make sensationalize this. This is the perfect time again to get in the lab, learn, brush up on your skills, start your marketing, plant those seeds so that you'll be ready when summertime comes around. So now I want to open this up for any questions. This is a picture of us at our very first graduation with IF1, the OGs. They graduated in Cleveland in July of 2021. We had our second graduation, IF2 and 3, this past August in Atlanta. And our next class, IF4, which we are enrolling for now, they will graduate in Cleveland come July or August of 2023. So if you're interested in flowing with us, applications are open, but they close tomorrow. So got to get your application in ASAP. You can go to inspectorflowapp.com and you can apply there. Let's get to some of these questions. Just passed the NHIE on Friday. Hardest test I've ever taken. That's what's up. Congratulations, Brian. It's definitely hard. I already know what you mean. What state are you in, Brian? That's what's up. Congratulations to you. Did you say also that we do practice inspections and inspector flow? Yes. So at the end, inspector flow again is 20 weeks of class work, just like this. At the end of those 20 weeks during our graduation week, you meet me in Cleveland, and we'll be in actual houses completing mock inspections before we graduate. Maryland. Okay, cool. What school did you go to, Brian? That's what's up. Congratulations, Brian. Super excited for you. It is no joke getting past that test. So it is definitely something to celebrate. Any other questions? Peace to you, Henley. Henley's in Alabama. Alabama is regulated. I can't remember how many hours they need off the top of my head, but Alabama is regulated. I did ICA. Okay, cool. I think ICA and AHIT are good in Maryland. Maryland, if you got in, a lot of our IF1 students, we got a lot of people from Maryland. We got D Ford is licensed in Maryland, JoJo's licensed in Maryland. Who else? We got Bond coming in Maryland. We got PJ coming in Maryland. We got several people from Maryland, and they actually got in during that COVID period where you could do it virtually, right? Now Maryland requires you to actually do it in person. But oh, Henley, so they require no, it got to be more than 30 hours. It might be 30 hours in the field, but I'm thinking it's more than 30 hours of education. Let me look. How about we look, Henley? What you say? Um, Alabama, 120 hours in Alabama and 35 mocks. So that's what it is. Most states are over 100 hours. Most of them are 100 hours. I think Florida is like 124. In Florida, you can either take the NHIE or you can take Internashi's test, which is a huge break. Where else? What other states are in here? Y'all have no questions? My DMs and stuff say otherwise, that y'all don't have any questions. Um, if you're new here, you just now tuning in to me, connect with me on Facebook. I'm House Hunter 216 everywhere on YouTube, Twitter, IG, Facebook. House Hunter 216. I got a lot of free game. I talk mainly about home inspecting and Cleveland real estate investing. That's mainly what I talk about. So you can go ahead and connect with me there. Um, so no more questions. Anybody flowing with us? Seltzer, I know you flowing with us. Anybody else in the chat here looking to flow with us? Do you have any advice now that I've passed the test? I know I need to get my insurance next. Brian, you got to start marketing. I always I you here's the thing. It's best to start marketing and setting up your company and all that kind of stuff before you get licensed. So by the time you get licensed, you already got kind of like a running start. But if you didn't, that's the next thing you got to do now. Is you got to, especially since we're in kind of like the slower season, I would look to start marketing. I would look to start to try to find some other home inspectors. That's another problem with the industry. It's hard to connect with other people. It's not like other industries where you can, find people and they, you got a community camaraderie. It's not like that in home inspecting. So marketing, social media marketing is going to be huge for you. Looking to build relationship with realtors, do some research about the top performing realtors in your area. And yeah, I would be looking to plant seeds now and then pop out on them real heavy for the summer. Chris, I'm super worried about being sued. Seems like it's a common thing for inspectors to get hit with the lawsuit. No, I don't think it's common. Um, I don't think it's common. But Chris, you got to just know that in any type of business you're doing, there's the propensity for you to be sued. Typically, the better that you get at something, the more likely that you will get sued. The thing is to have recourse, right? That's why you have insurance, and if it does come to that, you have recourse. But I would say most issues are settled before being sued. The thing that happens a lot is home inspectors damaging people's houses, falling through roofs, and things like that. And that's stuff that you just handle. Either again, you have insurance, you handle it out of pocket. Sometimes people are unhappy with your inspection. The way you handle that is through your agreement. Before you complete an inspection, there's something called a pre-inspection agreement, and you have that ironclad so that if there are any issues, you have recourse. That's the main thing that you have to worry about. Because if you're doing it, listen, Chris, if you're going to do this for the next 10, 15 years, if you're going to do 300 inspections for, let's say, the next 10 years, you're going to be doing thousands of inspections. Somebody's going to try to get you. You know what I mean? Like, the home inspector is the easiest person to try to blame in a transaction. So it is not common. It is not uncommon for home inspectors to get blamed. But I don't think they're being sued as all that much. Um, what is your recommended book? The books that I recommend are the two textbooks. You can only get them from NHIE, I believe it's .org. If you are a part of Inspector Flow, the textbooks come with your enrollment in Inspector Flow. You can get the hard copies, and they also have digital copies. The digital copies, like the ebooks, are cool. because it serves as like a what is it called? A audio book. It'll read it to you as well. Shadow the Gray, I completed the application. Okay, cool. So application's closed tomorrow. So we'll be moving to the next phase. There's a pre-work. It's set up like that for a reason. Inspector Flow is no joke, and I want to make sure that we are a great fit. I don't want to waste your time, and I don't want you wasting mine. By slow season, what do you mean? Just that once it gets colder, obviously there's less activity in the market generally, and with what we have, the uncertainty in the market has also slowed some people down. But here's the thing: people get forget that as an inspector, you can inspect for people who are buying primary homes, like people are getting a 30-year mortgage, but you can also inspect for investors. And I'll tell you, I'm an investor myself. Investors are still buying. There are some inspectors who have ancillary services that they turn into whole businesses. Very common is mold testing and mold remediation. That's an ancillary service for an inspector. But there are some people, lots of them are in Maryland. I've talked to a couple of the home inspector guys out there who they have a mold remediation company. They have a pest inspection company. These are outside companies outside of just their inspecting. And these are the things that inspectors typically do to kind of carry them through what is considered slow season. We talked on IG. I want to start my own business, but even though I passed the test, I still feel like I don't know enough to roll on my own. Is a lack of confidence just normal in the beginning? I would say yes, a lack of confidence is normal in the beginning, but I would say that I'm not sure where you went for your education, but I would say that you probably feel a little insecure, unsure because you didn't get enough education. Again, this is something that you got to really be taught and showed. You got to spend time with it. Like, if just imagine inspector flow is 20 weeks, that's several months. If I could do it shorter than that, I would, but I believe it takes, if we're just taking you off the street and you just start, I believe it takes 20 weeks to get all that we have to get in. So it is common to be a little unsure, a little shaky for those first few inspections, but it is more common for you to not have been properly, for you to have received enough training for you to feel competent enough to show up confidently. So um that is typically what the case is. What areas are affected? Oh, the areas that are affected for slow season, all areas I think are affected in some ways. Obviously, some more than others. Here on the East Coast, up in the North, we obviously get like heavy winter weather, whereas in the South, they don't experience that. Obviously, in the South, they get in Florida, you guys get hurricanes. There's so every region is affected differently. Um, but just know that there's always some houses being sold. And when there's houses being sold, there's typically a requirement for a home inspector. There are so many different things. FHA 203K inspectors, when the federal government is lending out money, they require those properties to be inspected before they will disperse the funds. So there are tons of opportunities for you to make money and for you to survive. Every industry has, slowdowns and slower seasons and different things like that. So nothing too crazy to worry about. If I am certified, can I work throughout any state outside of my own? So no, because remember, each state has their own um has their own requirements. So say for example, you get licensed here in Ohio. You, in order to go to Illinois, which is also another licensed state, you would have to be licensed there. Now typically what states do is there's not any official reciprocity, but they will say if you completed similar coursework to what we require, then sometimes they'll just let you fill out the paperwork, pay the money, and get a license. I have a student who went from one licensed state to another at actually Illinois, and they made him retake the tests. So you gotta be clear about which state you're going to. Now, on the other hand, say you were coming from Ohio, a licensed state, to Georgia. Georgia's not licensed, so you wouldn't have any problem. You could go down to Georgia and get it started. We have a student, Dre. He started in Illinois, passed his test, got licensed in Illinois, started his company there. growing. He expanded down to Atlanta. He didn't need to do anything in terms of licensure to start his business down in A. So you have to be mindful of that. Let's see. I don't think I missed any other ones. All right. So hopefully did that clear some stuff up for you guys? Share this when we get off. If you would, please subscribe to my YouTube, follow me so you can stay abreast of what's going on. Again, I'm specifically being intentional about helping more minorities. Where are Spanish speaking home inspectors? Where are Asian American home inspectors? Where are Latino? Like, we need everybody. Everybody's buying houses and buying properties. We have all of those people represented as realtors, so we should have the same thing for home inspectors. If you're looking to flow with us, our class starts February 26th of 2023. Again, 20 weeks is very intense. It's nothing to play with. But we'll get you to the finish line, and looking forward to our graduation and celebration here in Cleveland. If you think of a question after the fact, shoot me a DM or an email. And with that, I'll holler y'all. Peace.